that pop up. And thank you again for joining us, Paul.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. I feel I'm addressing a group that is very much aware of the potential benefits that VRI brings to the ag industry, so I'm going to try to keep my presentation limited to what our product brings and not so much the advantages of VRI itself. Of course, the goal, again, we've already mentioned that it's going to be advantageous for the ag industry. The VRI prescription program that we have allows the grower to create both speed and zone VRI prescriptions from very simple JPEG images, unlike your program that uses the GPS images. And so they can bring those images in, and like I said, they can create both zone and speed. To do the speed VRI, what's nice about that is our touchscreen panel offers that speed VRI as a standard feature. As long as you have GPS system controls with the touchscreen, you have the full-blown speed VRI capabilities. Another nice feature that we've offered is that we've offered this VRI since 2013. The touchscreen itself has been out there since 2009. So we have the ability to update all of those panels that have been out there 4 years previous to run the current VRI programs like we have today. So that's nice opportunity for those growers that didn't know what they were getting back then, and that way they don't have to regret having purchased a touchscreen then and not getting one now. So again, that's a very inexpensive upgrade, and it's available to everyone that has a touchscreen. Of course, with the two basic types of VRI, our speed VRI allows the grower to make his prescriptions in 1/10 of a degree increments. I know there's some out there that limit you to 2 degrees and maybe even 1 degree, but Reinke has set theirs up to 1/10 of a degree, which doesn't mean you're going to have a prescription where you're changing speed every 1/10 of a degree, but it allows you to make that change exactly where you want it to not be a degree or two off. So we put that act in there for that reason. Lateral move systems, on the other hand, we're working with strips, so as they move every foot, you can change the prescription in those 1-foot increments. A little reminder here that initially when we introduced our VRI to the public in 2013, we only offered that to our pivot systems. So it was only when we introduced a update in 2015 that we also included the lateral move ability to do VRI. And we can also create and run fertigation prescriptions with or without the use of the Agri-Inject reflex unit. Our software will allow you to write a prescription for fertilization, but the Agri-Inject reflex unit also has the ability to do even more with that, and it works very well with our touchscreen.
Just real quick, Paul, I want to make sure, does everyone know and understand what the Agri-Inject reflex unit is? I want to make sure if you have any questions on that. I know that's not Paul's expertise, as he doesn't work for Agri-Inject, but if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your RSMs. I know I've got several dealers using it in my territory, and it's worked extremely well.
Thank you. With our latest version, or the latest update of our VRI, we also now allow 2 prescriptions to be loaded together on that panel, so that one can run in the forward mode, and then when the system reverses, it'll automatically run the second prescription that was put in that panel for that purpose. So that capability is now in there. Also, as applied data is accurately logged and can be graphed as you choose. And the touchscreen does verify whether a prescription, when it's entered, is calibrated for that field and the touchscreen itself. Now, It just tells you whether it is or not. It doesn't prevent you from running a prescription that you load if it isn't, which is maybe good or bad. I guess it's good in a sense because I don't believe any of your prescriptions will trigger the panel to say that it's verified. All right. So don't be concerned if you see this little warning message that your prescription's not verified, because it's reading our information and not necessarily yours. So we have that capability, and I just want to let you know that it is there. As far as zone VRI is concerned, years ago with the first introduction of VRI, we had the capability of controlling up to 36 zones. And now today we can control up to 84 zones. And you combine that with the numerous sectors that you can put in there, you can create more than 300 controlled areas, which is helpful when you get into some of those longer machines. Of course, with the zone VRI, we're concerned about the pressure changes that can occur when you are turning sprinklers on and off, especially as those sprinklers are further out on that system. So VFDs, we are recommending those. They're maybe even required in some certain applications, depending upon how they're using their zone VRI. So VFDs are probably a necessary option. And then another thing that our prescription program can do is it can create dry zones. You can actually, in the prescription software itself, you can define a particular zone to be dry, meaning that normally your VRI comes right up to the edge of an area and then shuts off or turns back on as it's gone through that area. With the dry zone, it actually, we have the ability to put in the sprinkler coverage diameters, and so that when it reaches the radius away from that area, it shuts off then and not waiting until it's right up against the area. So that area will stay dry, and of course it does taper off the application up to that area, but that's in some cases that's what they want. So we have that ability as well. The components that are required for zone VRI, other than the touchscreen and GPS, we use what we call our Reinke sprinkler valves on every sprinkler that's going to be in a zone. Our zone boxes, or valve boxes, contain 6 zones. So with 84 zones maximum, that would be a maximum of 14 valve boxes that could actually be placed on a system. So each of those boxes controls 6 zones, and then they're all controlled by air rather than water, because our air gives us a much quicker response than water could due to the pressure differences. And also there's other benefits by using air as far as plugging and those types of things. So we use an industrial grade air compressor for that purpose. So just going through some of the variations of what we can do with the grower on his prescriptions. Using an aerial image, I'll just describe that one first. And this next little thing I'm going to pop up, I'm not trying to knock the competition, but they did knock us and anybody else. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. I hope you've seen it. It's been out there for a few years, but I kind of took offense to it because it made it look like nobody else could do VRI but them. And as you can see, the artist concept of this is very archaic and not really representative of what we can actually do. So what I did, I used this little image and put it into our prescription program to create a prescription to show that we can do what they say we can't. And this was back when we offered 36 zones. So we're using the zone in the center and the 1 zone on the outside, and then the remaining 34 zones across this, what I'll call a wetland area. And those zones are 19 feet wide, and each zone then has 2 sprinklers, 9.5 feet apart. So using that concept, we create these dry zones. And I see very little difference from what we're doing to what the competition says they were doing and what we couldn't. So anyway, I just wanted to relieve you and let you know that don't believe everything you see or hear sometimes. Also, yield monitor images, and I realize your capabilities are even much greater than what ours are with our software, but we do provide this with our grower. The ability to create a prescription over a yield map. And in this particular circumstance, you can see that speed VRI would have absolutely no benefit on this particular field because the total outside area of that pivot coverage is where he's got a problem. It's a much sandier soil out here on the edge, and there's a little finger that comes up here that's pretty sandy. But over here closer to the pivot point, he's got some good soil. So to apply more water here, you'd be applying more water here as well, and that he had that without VRI. So what we did, we put some zones onto this field and let him create his own prescription over it. And you can see that he's applied, based on our colors are over here, 100% of the water is being applied on the outside edge, and then he reduces that as you get towards the pivot. The results of that, this was the 2012 drought year here in Nebraska, and so you can see that there was a noticeable improvement in that area. You can see too that it affected some of the coverage that he was getting in closer to the pivot, which tells me he can kind of tweak this a little bit and make some improvements as well now after seeing what his results were. He was very impressed with this and went on to buy a couple more systems with VRI and is using those. So he's very progressive farmer. And then finally, using survey images, and again, I know you guys like to use your EC images, and I think those are great. It's fantastic what technology can do for the grower today. But here I pulled in an aerial image, and then I overlaid a soil survey image just to show you how it agrees with what you see from the air, but it still tells you more than what you're going to see from the air. The air just tells you that, yeah, there's an issue there, but what is the issue? Survey map tells you, and I haven't described all the different areas here, but they were defined in the map that was given, and so you kind of knew what you were working with. Again, not as technological as the EC images that you can get, but still much more beneficial than the aerial image that he could be working with. So pulling that image to the software, again, you have the ability to place the zones where you want them and create your sectors where you want them and create your prescription as needed. You can see with 12 zones, it was kind of a very choppy border. I created another one over that same field with 30 zones and can smooth that out. So again, you can add or subtract as many zones as you want to get the results that you desire. But one of the things that I think is interesting is with VRI, you're still working with sprinklers that are throwing as much as a 50, 60-foot pattern. And so if you've got a sprinkler, every sprinkler or every 2 sprinklers is a zone within itself, you're still looking at patterns of 50, 60, 70 feet wide that when you shut those off, you still have other zones filling in that pattern. And so it's not going to be precise, and it's not going to look exactly like we're doing here because this is not showing the overlap of the coverage. So it's interesting how we can still reap benefits from VRI and have that kind of a discrepancy as well. One of the things that you'll notice if you've seen the old prescription program back around 2013, we've changed our color code. So the old one started out with green as being the 100%, which now we use blue to represent that. And with the new program, as we change our percentages, the colors change with it as well, where the old program, you could use green up here. I could go in here and I could change that 100% to 50%, but it would still be green unless I changed that color myself. So this way, we're not letting them change the colors other than by changing the percent, they change the color, but we're not letting them choose what color represents what percent. We felt that would be somewhat confusing when they're looking at different prescriptions and not knowing what's going on. So that's another one of the somewhat improvements, I guess. And of course, the heart of VRI with Reinke is the use of our touchscreen panel, which is a computer. And we feel that we can do a lot with this. And this is basically the only way we offer VRI at this time is with a touchscreen panel. I'm not aware if your software still looks like this or not. This was a slide that I was given here a few years ago. But in your software, you have the ability to select a Reinke format, I guess, for your prescriptions. And I would think that you would have maybe two selections for the Reinke format. One is after 2013, and then the second format is after 2015. So again, I don't know what those look like or how you're selecting them, but I would hope that you have both of them in there so that you can operate with either touchscreen panel depending upon the version they're working with.
That is correct, Paul. Just to let you know, we do have both options for that. That is correct, yes.
Okay, that's great. And again, to determine what that version is on the panel, you can touch the setup button, and then it'll show you right here what that working version is. And of course, we needed to have this several years ago to operate VRI. Anything older than 13, and this first two digits represents the year. So if you had a version 12 or less, then it's not going to do VRI for you. Anything above 13 will do the first version of VRI, and anything above 15, and I'll show you that number here later on, will do the latest version of VRI. So you need to know which version you're working with to make sure that you're pulling up the right prescriptions. Otherwise, you're going to find that if you've got the latest prescription with the earlier panel or vice versa, the panels will not be able to read those prescriptions. The nice thing with our software, our prescription program, we have the ability to pull in a prescription that was created with our earlier program, and when we bring it in, it just automatically converts it to the newer format. So you can create it that way. Anybody that has the older prescriptions, the older software, they can upgrade their panel to the new, and then by using our newer program, they can take their original prescriptions and just load it in and then save it under a new name, and they've got the same prescription that works with the newer panel now. So here, if the version is not current, then the grower is going to have to contact our Reinke dealer to get that that new version so that he can go out there and update that panel. And that's something that you may be working directly with the dealer as well, or with the grower through the dealer. However you guys do that, you know, it's nice if you can develop that relationship with the dealer and do those things. But generally, our policy here is we provide our information directly to our dealerships, and it's up to the dealerships to provide whatever they need to their grower. And if you are involved, if they decide they want to provide it directly to you, they can. If they do give it to the grower and the grower gives it to you, it's however you guys are handling that. So it's not a concern of us. It's just that we want to make sure it's available to our grower in the long run. So if you have to upgrade this, then naturally just touch cancel on the screen, get back out, get your update, and then once you've updated the panel, then you can come back into the program and touch the run button. That'll provide a drop-down menu here that when you click on the drop-down box, you have there's 3 sector programs available, and then right here there's a run VRI. So in order to run a VRI prescription, you have to have this selected. Otherwise, it does not recognize the VRI. If for some reason you want to run a VRI prescription and a sector program, you can do that, but you would have to select this run VRI and S1. And S1 means sector 1, so it'll only run program 1. It will not run program 2 or 3. So this program 1 would have to be created to be run specifically with the prescription that you're using. And if that's what the grower wants to do, he has that capability. Otherwise, our program or our panel, our software program, when we create our prescriptions, it's created using sectors only or zones only. We do not combine the sector and the zone in the actual prescription itself. So this is the way we can kind of get around that. You can create a sector program, combine that with a zone program, and then they will work together. I think your software, correct me if I'm wrong, will do both speed and zones at the same time. Is that correct?
We can account for quite a bit and do that. Yes, it's intense. Yeah.
All right. So the difference is here. I guess what I was wanting to make clear is that our software will not write both into it. Yours does. But the nice thing, the beauty of it is our program, our panel will run your software, as you're fully aware, as you write it. So we have the ability to do speed and zone at the same time. We just don't have the ability to write it into our prescription right now. So then when you select this, you have the ability then to go in and load a prescription in your panel. So you would, if you have nothing here, then that means one of a couple things. One, either you didn't have your thumb drive plugged into the panel when you came to this screen, or 2, it's not able to see the prescriptions on the thumb drive. And again, they must be placed in a root drive. You cannot have them in a folder because the panel will not look inside of a folder on your thumb drive. It has to, it's going to look on the root to see those prescriptions. So if you have them in a folder, take them out of the folder, and then you'll be good to go. So again, touch cancel, get you out of it. Yes, to get back to the main screen. And then you go back in with the VRI again, and now your prescriptions are going to show up on that thumb drive. Now these pictures I'm showing you are basically the first version of our VRI panel. The second version that we offer has 2 screens, and some of you may be familiar with the newer versions, but they do have the 2 screens now. The first screen is off the thumb drive, and as you load it into the panel, then it comes down here and stores itself on the second window and is stored in that touchscreen. The first version, we did not have the ability to store more than 1 prescription at a time. Now you can store several, dozens, or depending upon how complex the prescriptions are and how much room they take up, it's going to still, allow you to save more than a couple, 3 or 4. So that will be down here, and then you also have the ability to delete those if your capacity is reached and you are no longer using a certain prescription. You can click a delete button, which I'm not showing here, and it can delete those for you, and then you can import some more. Touch load, then, like I say, it brings in your prescription. The old version, I think, pulled up your crop metrics. I'm not sure if the new one still does that, but we do show it on the front panel anyway if you are using your own prescription. So the old version, your crop metrics logo was over here. The newer version, we moved it over to the right side because we had to change a few features on our panel, and we needed that space for other things. So we still have you there. We just a little different location. Nice thing about the VRI on this panel is that I know some of our competition, you have to run a different prescription to apply different amounts. And with ours, if you want to double your application but still have the same prescription, you just go in here and change your base rate from 1 inch to 2 inches, and you can do this on the fly. You don't have to shut the system down or anything. You just change your base rate, and now you're doing twice the application but using the same prescription. So that's a feature that we've had from the very beginning. This is a look, not the color so much, but the options on the panel is representative of our newer one. So here you can see where we've got prescription by, and then you see this little warning symbol. So again, we can go to the setup and check your version required. This is a version between the 13 and the current 15. So this version would still be using the original VRI. It would not be able to run the new one. So if you see this and you want the new, again, it's going to require an update. So this little prescription by, if you press that button, just touch it, it's going to bring up whoever that prescription is written by. If it was written by one of our programs, it'll show Reinke. If it's written by yours, then it'll bring up crop metrics. And this warning sign appears when we have a template that we can create with our pricing program. And that template can be loaded into our touchscreen. And what that template does is it shows exactly where the zones begin and stop, how many zones are on that system and everything. And of course, we hope that the zones were installed on the system exactly the way the template shows they were. The template is how that zone package was priced out to the customer in the first place. So chances are it hasn't been changed. So we use that template then by loading it into the touchscreen. It provides the additional information that we need. That template is where we get the information on the sprinkler diameter. And that sprinkler diameter then, when we load that template into our prescription software, we're loading that information in there as well. The other thing that happens when we load that template into our prescription software is that it brings the zones in, and so those zones now can no longer be edited. You cannot add any zones, you cannot remove a zone, you cannot shift a zone because it's locked into the actual hardware on that system. By doing this, by the dealer giving our grower that template, the grower now brings that template in when he creates their prescription. And so that way, if they're using that template when they create their prescription and the template's loaded into the touchscreen, then when they load that prescription, this little symbol will not show up. If they don't use the template, or the template is not loaded into the touch panel, then this little triangle is always going to be there. And I would think that for your prescriptions, because your prescriptions aren't written precisely in the format that ours are, that then that's going to show as well. So because you didn't use our template to create the prescription, you used the format but not the template. I don't know if that made a lot of sense or not, but I guess the main point I want to get across is when you're using your prescriptions on our panels, don't worry about this triangle so much. It's there to kind of alert the customer or the grower that, hey, something might be missing if they're using our prescription, that whatever's missing, they can contact the dealer can work with them, and they can load that template if they need to or choose to do so. We've been talking about our dealerships. You can go out to our Reinke website, www.reinke.com, and click on our dealer locator. And of course, you can click on my location, which for each of you, depending upon where you're at, will show you the dealers nearest your area. And if you go further out than what the locator does, then you can search them other ways. But as you can see, there's several dealers throughout the United States and Canada and Mexico, and of course I'm not showing the rest of the world, but hopefully you're not going to be trying to do too much in those places the way it is. So again, work closely with our dealers as much as you can. I hope that the dealers will be okay with working with you. I see no reason why they shouldn't, and unless they're doing some other VRI service that they feel that you're competing, but I don't see where that would be much of a case. So that's pretty much all I have. If you have some questions, I'll try to answer what I can. Otherwise, I'll have to maybe jot them down here and try to get answers for you and email them.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for going through that stuff today. I have not seen any questions pop up right now at the moment. And I guess I will comment and say that, you know, we encourage our crop metrics dealers to touch base with all the Reinke guys. You know, as soon as they get set up as a dealership or as new stuff comes down the line, I think that working relationship is very, very, very nice and very beneficial for crop metrics dealers and Reinke dealers, one and the same, right? If you look at what you guys are doing in the springtime, building pivots, fixing pivots, getting everything ready to go for the season, where our crop metrics guys can be finishing up prescriptions, putting in moisture probes, still doing some consulting work, it really does work out very nicely. So I know that we appreciate your Reinke dealerships when they, you know, work with us well, and we try to do the same with you guys. So
I have a question for you or everybody out there. And one of my concerns, you know, when people want to price VRI and they're not interested in the sector, but they want the zone VRI, they say, well, you know, how much is it going to cost? And for us to come up with a cost, we need to ask them, well, how many zones do you need and where are those zones going to be? And you know, so they have to really go through the motions of creating a prescription first and finding out where those zones are at, so then they can then transfer that information from their software into our pricing program. I was just curious, how many of our customers, I should say, are going direct to you guys when talking about VRI and pricing and what have you? Because if you are working with them and you've already done the soil testing and what have you, you have the ability there to recommend sector or zone. And then not only that, but if you're recommending zone, then how many zones, where those zones go, is that information available to our dealers so that they then can price that zone package to that customer? And now they're pricing, you know, they're pricing the zone package what you recommend and not what we recommend.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll just tell you from firsthand experience about last month with a dealer out in my territory where the local Reinke dealer contacted the crop metrics guy and said, look, I don't even know where to begin with this. So we actually did develop a speed versus zone, and we're looking at that to see what would be the best way to go about handling that field. So there's one case right there where a good working relationship between a crop metrics dealer and a Reinke dealer really paid off for both.
Exactly.
It raises the level of influence on the Reinke guy for the customer and the crop metrics guy. So having that good, strong relationship is important, and just like you said, Paul, you know, it's important to be able to bid a job properly, and sometimes the agronomic expertise of a crop metrics dealer is very, very, very important with that.
And that's exactly the point I was trying to make, is that, you know, our dealers, you know, they don't have that expertise. They don't have your software. They don't have the ability to make those recommendations, yet they have to price it. So it's a perfect opportunity, like you were saying, that you guys can work together. I don't know if you normally charge for a comparison to say whether they need VRI or not, but hopefully if you're working with the dealer and they're pricing a system, you wouldn't necessarily put a charge on it, because if you do sell it, you're going to have your hooks into that customer anyway with what you've done. So I just think it's a good deal to be able to work with that dealer and help them price these things as easily as possible.
Yes, that's a great point. That's a great point.
And it gets your foot in the door right away. And it's an opportunity for one of your dealers to step into a Reinke dealer's place, having never dealt with them before, and present this opportunity to that dealer. Because he's going to recognize right off the bat when when it's time to price one, he has no way of pricing it without somebody's recommendation.
Yeah, that's a good point. What would you suggest if would you suggest that our crop metrics dealers just kind of do a cold call and even just stop in, or would you want them to contact the local Reinke regional manager to maybe warm that lead up a little bit? What would be your suggestion on how to go about that if you've got a new crop metrics dealer in the area? What would you suggest, or how would you suggest approaching those Reinke dealers to make sure that the relationship is fostered properly and started off with a good foundation? Because I know some irrigation dealers almost think as crop metrics as a competitor, where we're really not. And like you said, Paul, we need to have a good, strong relationship. So what would be your suggestion on how to approach Reinke dealerships?
Well, I would definitely recommend that you go through our territory managers. They do not like to find out afterwards what's going on in their area. So if you were up front with them and saying, hey, you know, we have this proposition, we know that VRI is difficult to price, and we feel we can provide you this type of service, and we would like to visit with your dealers, and maybe even they could travel with our TM and have him introduce your dealer to the dealer. You know, there's all kinds of things out there. It depends on how that TM wants to work with you, but I would definitely go to the TM first, and so that he's aware of what's going on here, and there's no misconceptions and things like that.
Okay, great. Where would be the easiest place to find the contacts for the territory managers?
Well, if it's not on our website, I will try to put together a list, and I can email that to you, and then you can relay that to whoever.
That would be fantastic. That would be very helpful. Yes, please.
Right. Okay. Anything else?
Okay, great. I don't see any other hands raised or any questions from the crop metrics team. Any other comments, questions, concerns, anything like that?
I have none.
Okay, great. Well, again, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. I do appreciate it, and I hope everyone saw some benefit out of today's webinar. This will be posted on our support site, or the link will be on our support site to our private crop metrics page. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to your regional sales manager. And again, thank you very much for your time today, guys. Let's go out and have a good week.